Welcome, I'm Graydon, and this is BINBUSTER, where I buy, watch, and review budget bin movies for you. Today's movie is the biographical story of Ip Man. Ip Man is the master of Wing Chun, the martial arts that Bruce Lee knows. So if you know who Bruce Lee is, you know who Ip Man is. A brief little synopsis, and I'll go through the good, the bad, give you my overall thoughts on the movie, and then I'll go and give you the rating for this. First off, during the Japanese invasion of China during World War II, a wealthy martial artist is forced to leave his country, to leave his home, and the city in which he's occupied for years. With no means of providing for themselves, Ip Man and the remaining members of the city must find a way to survive. You're talking about when the Japanese are coming into China, taking over everything, destroying lives. Fushang, where takes place, if I'm butchering that name, I apologize. Where this takes place is taken over, so all the martial arts schools are closed down, and martial artists, masters, are fighting in Japanese dojos just for rice and food. Yeah, this is how bad it is right around there. Alright, the good of this movie, the dubbing. When I first went into this movie, going through it the first time, I was worried about subtitles. When the Japanese characters speak, there are subtitles because when you're hearing the dub, you're hearing the English dub of Chinese. So thus, they're foreign, they get the subtitles, whereas the dubs happen with all the Chinese characters. These dubs aren't actually bad. You watch the old Godzilla movies, those are bad dubs. This one actually is great. That's a big plus for a movie like this. Another thing is, holy cow, the fight scenes are amazing. If you're a fan of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, this is not the movie for you. Honestly, the fight scenes, you could tell that they slowed them down so that way they could see everything. But it's amazing. From the different styles that fight throughout the movie, and you just see Ip Man style Wing Chun happening, you could tell it's completely different. Each style is unique in its own fighting stances and fighting styles, and what they use more, and that's a very good plus in this movie. Ip Man and his family are amazing in this film, just because his wife doesn't want him to fight. He is enjoying not being a master. His little boy is hilarious throughout this film. There's one scene where some Japanese invaders want to fight. They want to fight all the masters and open up a school in China there. And so what happens is they go in and they fight Ip Man, come to his house, they want to fight him. His wife is like, oh, get out of my house. He's like, you're letting your wife fight your battles for you? I knew Wing Chun was a woman's fighting style. He's like, he says something along the lines of, you need to respect women. And that's fine. That's great. Here's a guy in this type of area and at this type where he views his wife as his equal. That's awesome in a movie like this. But as that fight happens, his son rides on a trike and goes, Dad, Mom says you should stop fighting because she doesn't want anything else broken. That was hilarious. His son at times just saying stuff like that is hilarious. It's funny. He even uses in the same fight, when he's at his house, a feather duster against the guy's sword. It's like, you're using a feather duster, and you see why he uses it in there and how he uses it to keep his opponent at bay. Like, if I use a stick at you guys and keep you guys at bay, you guys are further out from me then. Whereas swords, you have to come in close. That's going to be playing a better part later on in the movie as well, too. His son asks why he doesn't practice martial arts anymore. His answer, after everything's taken from him, his house is taken over for the army military, and he's forced to live on the streets. So him and his wife and his son find a place. And it's here, after his son, they're eating dinner, asks, why don't you practice martial arts anymore, Dad? He goes, because it makes me hungry. And his son goes, then I'll stop playing outside. I'm like, wow. That just made me laugh. Oh, I'll stop playing outside because that makes me hungry too. It's like, okay. People want to be trained by him. he doesn't want to be trained. And this is another good part of the movie. He stays true to his stuff, that he doesn't want to train anyone. He doesn't want to get into that world. He's trained, he's learned this style. He just doesn't want to get master it and teach anyone because he doesn't need disciples. He doesn't need trainers. He doesn't need followers. Except for when Bruce Lee comes years later. Bruce Lee is his student, probably his most famous one of all. We all know those movies. I enjoy Enter the Dragon. I enjoy those movies. So another part, they thrived, and when the Japanese occupation happened and how it changed their lives. They go through the little thing and say how Fushuang, went from 300,000 to 70,000 people. Yeah. So the country's being decimated, this region's being decimated, to the point where Ip Man sees his best friend, who's like a brother to him, his business of doing cotton, being taken over by the guys he beat earlier in the movie. And then all of a sudden he's like, he can't let that anymore. He trains them to defend themselves using his style. And the rest is history in this movie. He goes to Japanese dojo because one of the young men he was working with ends up dying after being beaten up here. So he goes to check it out. He tells him when he gets in there, give me 10 of your best. Give me 10. And he takes them all down. That's an awesome fight sequence to watch. If you haven't seen this movie yet, just watch on the fight sequences alone. He decides to bring honor back to Fushuang and his country again by training up the people to fend for themselves, to the point where this military general challenges him to a fight. He beats him. He's standing up there. Everyone's chanting, Ip Man, Ip Man, Ip Man, Ip Man. He gets shot in the shoulder. That everyone riot breaks out. They start mowing down the barricades and everything, and to go make sure Ip Man's all right. His best friend, who was like a brother to him, takes him and his wife and his son out of Fushuang because, yeah, they don't need him anymore. And shortly thereafter, the Japanese occupation left. He said, I believe they said they were going to Hong Kong. So he's going to Hong Kong. That's where this movie ends, and that's where the second one picks up. Any bads of this? At times, some people could say it would be too political, but basing on the time frame where it is, it makes absolute sense of why it would be kind of political. It's not like most movies that try and put a political statement in there. This takes place during a time frame where it was pretty political, and it's like, oh, this is what we're going to do. You don't like it, you're going to die. So that was the only bad side I had to it. I've read a lot of reviews going into this that's a lot of what people are saying about this film. However, that's the only bad I have. To let you know a little bit more about this movie, I enjoyed the fighting scenes. I hated Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon just because of the sole fact of there were flips everywhere, running up walls and everything. This was just grounded, realistic martial arts. And I like those type of movies. I love watching Jackie Chan. I love watching Bruce Lee. I love watching Donnie Yen, who's in here. Who, by the way, if you don't know, he's also in Rogue One. He plays the blind Force adept that says I'm one of the Force, and the Force is with me. I'm one of the Force, and the Force is with me. That's him. That's Ip Man in this movie. So, what will I give this movie? You know, honestly, I'll give it 4.5 stars. 4.5. It's a great movie. Good time. You want to spend 2 hours watching it? About 2 hours watching a movie? Or close thereof? Then Ip Man is for you. Not only that, but there's also 3 other sequels to this. I haven't found the 4th one yet when I've been thrifting around to try and find movies in budget bins, but I did find 2 and 3. You can see when I picked those up here in December and January, so you guys can watch that then. You guys can see it there. I'm going to review the next 2 in the following weeks, so stay tuned for that. And as always, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit the bell notification for more videos like this. I post a review every Wednesday. And this upcoming Friday, I have a haul video for you. And let me just say, it's April, and I have already broken my rule on that. So I'm just letting you guys know that right now off. But here down below, have you ever practiced martial arts? Have you ever done taekwondo, karate, stuff like that? Sound off down below. Let's get this conversation started on this. I want to hear about your stories on that too. So that's always fun. And remember, you can help support this channel. I have a Buy Me a Coffee page. And I'll put that down in the link in the description down below. If you want to support this, I have, in the haul video coming up Friday, I have a podcast who actually sent me some money to find a movie, and I will show you what movie that is and probably review that pretty soon as well. So if you want to do that, for $3, you can just say, yeah, one-time pledge, here you go. Here's a coffee. Or, as I call it on that page, a movie. You buy the movie, and I'll go out, I'll buy a movie with that money and come back and review it for you guys. So until next time, I'm Graydon. This has been Buster. Remember, make it a movie night. And no matter what comes your way, do the Wing Chun and dive right in.